Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys from Canada, you know we love you. In Africa, the Big C drop. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful September 21st, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, the golf world has ascended on the South here for the second time this year. You know, it starts off with Augusta and the Masters, Charlton, and it ends up with the FedEx Cup in Atlanta out at East Lake. I mean, just, you know, the big time of the year. $10 million purse. I know it's not a lottery ticket.
I'll take it.
$10 million will do okay for the weekend.
Yeah, it will do okay for the weekend. Of course, all is fair in love and war. A lot of baseball coming right down to the final pitch as we hunt for Red October, who's going to get into the playoffs. It's always an exciting time of year for that. Even basketball is starting to get back on the map, and that season will tip off as we get into next month, the month of October as well. But a lot about what's great about this country is when we watch football, everybody has an opinion, whether it's the Jets and the Browns tonight or what's going to happen with Pittsburgh and Tampa. We all have opinions. Will the Oakland Raiders survive, their flight to Miami? Because I think they blitzed you down there too, Big C. Last I heard, I do want to say today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. So, Big C, we heard about this thing called the Rooney Rule. And the Rooney Rule is based on supposedly giving African-American head coaches a fair look when it comes to getting the job with the NFL. One of the old good old boy networks. I decided that I was also going to put in my resume for an NFL coaching job. So I sent them my resume. I said, look, I don't need the Rooney Rule. I want to stand on my own merit. I went 16-0 in the regular season. I won my 2 playoff games and the Super Bowl. I won the championship. How come I can't get a shot at interviewing for an NFL team? And they said, well, hold on, Charlton. What team did you coach? Big C, I won the Madden 2018 Super Bowl championship. That should be good enough for consideration. They said, no, Charlton, you got to have real football, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, what is real football? When you look at how the standards are set, when you look at the limited number of African Americans who get an opportunity, it's almost like saying that black quarterbacks can't play in the NFL. They can win all the college championships in the world, all the high school championships, state championships, but they can't coach, they can't play in the NFL. That's the same thing we do with coaches.
Yep.
When you think about the NFL, Charlton, it's 70 to 75% African American.
Yeah.
Straight across the board. Now, these guys can go out there and execute all the game plans that are put forth.
Yep.
Whether it's offensively, defensively, special teams. But you're saying that they cannot, instruct other players on what to do. On defense, normally you have an African American making the calls on defense.
That's true.
In the huddle.
Yeah.
And on the teams that you have African American quarterbacks, they're making the calls, in the huddle.
Yeah.
At the line of scrimmage, if you have an African American center, Charlton, he's making the calls.
Yeah.
On defense, if you got an African American safety, he's making the calls. Those are the 4 most critical positions on a defense.
Yep.
In offense, you got safety and middle linebacker. You have center and quarterback. Those are the most critical positions, Charlton. And there's, I believe, 6 starting African American quarterbacks in the NFL.
Wow.
Only 2 of them this year haven't won a game. But on the other hand, there's 9 white quarterbacks, Charlton, that haven't won a game.
Yeah.
So when you look at that and they say, well, it's too demanding.
Yeah.
How is it too demanding? Then when we look at all these coordinators on the sideline, Charlton, where do you see black defensive coordinators? I believe there's 3 in the NFL.
Yep.
2 to 3 max. I don't see any black offensive coordinators, Charlton. So you don't give the opportunities to these minorities to move up through the ranks. They become position coaches in the NFL. You may have a linebacker coach, a defensive line coach sparingly here and there. But you sit around and you'll see a white assistant coach, Charlton, who's been in the position for 40 years.
Yeah. I would love,
and the team is losing.
Yep.
And they won't move him and bring in a young black coach to let him learn or even see if he's capable of doing the job, Tony. So when you talk about the Rooney Rule was an scapegoat to say we don't have coordinators.
Exactly.
So if we say the Rooney Rule that, you have to bring somebody in, okay, we brought in a defensive line coach. He wasn't qualified because he had never coordinated a game.
Yep.
Even though he knew the defensive game plan, he hadn't coordinated. So their excuse is he lacks the experience.
Yeah.
Everybody lacks the experience that you don't give an opportunity. Anybody who listens to this program, your first day on your job, were you more experienced than the person that hired you or the personnel director or even a coworker? Those are the things you look at. These are the things that, subliminally are done to minorities in the coaching world.
Yeah.
And even in the NBA and even in Major League Baseball. Look at the NFL. Even the teams that have black starting quarterbacks don't have black backups.
Yep.
Think about that. You don't want to pay a black guy to just sit on the bench.
Isn't that something?
You look at NBA teams. The last 3 guys on an NBA team, Charlton, are all white, minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum, they're all white. The last 3 guys on the bench. And in Major League Baseball, guys sitting on the bench, 70 to 75% of those guys are white because you're not going to pay a black guy just to sit there on the bench when you can get that money to a white guy. So when you talk about the Rooney Rule,
yep,
really understand the structure of the Rooney Rule. It's to give qualified applicants an opportunity for a job.
Yeah.
But if you never had a chance to qualify as a coordinator, then that job is obscure and you'll never get it, Charles.
Well, I've always wanted to sit at the boardroom to hear what really goes on in conversation behind closed doors at the power table. And oftentimes, we always say we want equal opportunity. And we think, we see someone is diverse on the playing surface, but it's not diverse on the decision-making table. And people know that happens. So I want to just take a look at what's happening tonight. It's a beautiful day. I mean, California, the weather is gorgeous. Vibranium is pollinating the air everywhere. Even the universe is looking forward to football, Big C. I look at tonight, Hugh Jackson, African-American coach, Todd Bowles, African-American coach. These guys, even though Bowles got that extension, okay, that's good. But there are people who are saying they want Hugh Jackson gone no matter what he does because Cleveland's been so abysmal. They were abysmal when he got there. But he was getting some flack from media, at least West Coast media, saying that they needed to play Baker Mayfield because you drafted the kid. You didn't draft him to sit him on the bench and learn from a guy who made the playoffs last year in Tyrod Taylor. So there are people looking, what do you call a blind eye? They're looking at Hugh Jackson saying, if they don't win this game tonight, then it's Hugh Jackson's fault because he did not start Baker Mayfield. I think he's making the right choice if he goes with a guy that has playoff experience. No matter who he is, it just happened to be Tyrod Taylor. Is that unfair pressure from media to put so much pressure on a coach for starting a quarterback who has playoff experience? Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, this is the same scenario you had last year in Kansas City when they drafted Mahomes in the first round. Gave up 2 draft picks to draft him. He sat behind Alex Smith. Alex Smith knew that his time was limited because they spent 2 first-round draft picks to get Patrick Mahomes. But he didn't care about that, Charlton. He knew that he had a job still that year because they drafted Mahomes and told him he was going to sit and learn from Alex Smith.
Yeah.
So Alex Smith knew that he was auditioning all year long, Charlton, to get a job elsewhere.
Yeah.
Which he did. He's in Washington and got a pay increase.
Yeah.
When you sit there and you look at the 2 rookie quarterbacks that have started thus far in NFL, Charlton, both of them who started last week had the worst 2 QBR ratings in the entire league.
Yep.
So when you get the media talking about, no, you got to play the guy. Look at the QBR rating, Charlton. If you had a black quarterback with the QBR rating that Darnold had and that Allen had last week, everybody in the media say the guy's a bust. You need to sit him down.
Yeah.
And when you think about the rush, when you think about black quarterbacks being drafted, Charlton, everybody said, well, let's put Lamar Jackson in another position. He won the Heisman Trophy the year before Baker Mayfield did. Nobody said, well, let's put Baker Mayfield in another position.
Very good point.
And even Josh Allen, who completed 50% of his passes in college at a mid-level school, Charlton. Nobody said, well, maybe we need to make a tight end out of him. Because he can't complete the pass, but he's big and athletic. So when you look at that, Charlton, and you look at how they wage players, The media wants to see Mayfield versus Darnold tonight.
Yeah.
That's their objective. That's their story. They say, if Tyrod Taylor struggles in any kind of way, which he hasn't struggled in his first 2 games. He's had the team in the position to win the first 2 games.
Yeah.
He can't kick the ball, Charlton. That's the thing. He didn't miss the field goals and he didn't miss the extra point.
No.
He put the team in position to get those things, to execute.
Yep.
But it comes back to him. Well, he didn't win the game.
Yep.
But the kicker missed in 2 games, cost him 2 games. Kicker's no longer there. And that's how it is in pro sports. But, the same pressure that he gets from the media, Allen is not getting that pressure in Buffalo.
No.
He is not, Charlton. They're not scrutinizing that way. I mean, Darnold goes down to Miami last week. He has less than a 19 QBR rating.
Yep.
And he's down by 20 points at halftime. They said, well, he's a rookie. The excuses start coming out. He's a starting NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
If he wants to be a rookie, just sit on the bench.
Right.
Don't accept the starting role.
What I love about the Big C Sports is I love looking at things that we do. I even heard, in fairness to everybody, nobody has a patent on speech. But when I hear Greenberg saying they were talking about MMA and Conor McGregor coming back fighting, and he was talking about what boxing needs and what MMA needs, and after all the talk of what's the better sport, boxing or is it MMA, and he came and said a statement when he was speaking about Dana White and how do you market the MMA and the UFC compared to boxing, and he said we all know that Conor McGregor is the #1 draw in the sports universe. I where they heard universe from, I have no idea. I think you've been saying it about 3 years now, Big C. But we like to pay homage to our brethren that copyright and plagiarize, but it's okay. They can use the word. The universe was here long before all of us were, Big C. At the same time, I want to get back on the thoughts of a little bit of football. And it goes back to competition. When I was growing up, I was always taught that you compete for what you want. Nothing's going to be given to you. And if you really want it bad enough, you just stick to it until you get it. And what I see happening is with media. How do we have a sea change in media? There was a time when African Americans did not have access to the airwaves. So everything that we heard, it came from our white brethren who, for the most part, did not really know what we were all about other than what they saw on TV. What I love about Big C Sports, we're not scripted. There's no plug in my ear telling me what to say. Sometimes I might even regret that, Big C. Maybe I'll start using a plug so I can rehash what I say first, rehearse it at least. But I love the fact that you can speak from the heart, and now people are starting to copy it. The same opportunity that oftentimes, like the Rooney Rule, there could be one for a broadcast too, because a lot of good old boys just will not let you in, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they don't. They put the blockage up because what happens is, through your honesty, it makes other people look bad.
Yep.
And when you have collusion,
Google it.
The same thing that Colin Kaepernick is suing the NFL about is collusion. We have that in the broadcast industry.
Yeah.
Is that you have this protected entity. And the NFL has been sued about collusion before from other football leagues about broadcast rights.
Yeah.
So that's what you have, is that you have these worldwide leaders in sports and the dominant network saying, we have to find a way to keep that individual out of here.
Yeah.
Because they make us look bad. We have a scripted theme here.
Yep.
Just like the Hall of Fame broadcaster told you, Charlton.
Yep.
You got to make them believe what they don't see.
Yep.
Just like the NFL did last week against Clay Matthews, against the Minnesota Vikings and your cousin.
He's not my cousin.
They were going to take a tape of that hit and roll it around on what you weren't supposed to do.
Yeah.
But instead, Charlton, they should have took the hit that Barr put on Rodgers last year.
Now that was dirty. That was dirty.
And taking that one around.
Yeah.
They said they were going to take the clean hit that Matthews did.
Yeah.
No, you can't do that. But the one that, that happened by Barr on Rodgers the year before that took him out for the season, that was acceptable. So when you look at the NFL, Charlton, and the disillusion that they put on people, that's the same thing that the media avenues out there utilize.
Yep.
Is that they want to take the people that are smaller than them, such as us, and they want to steal product that we utilize.
Yeah.
So the words that we utilize. And then they want to try to say, oh, no, we said that first, and you go back and you listen to their programs because everybody now is on the internet. You can pull up past broadcasts, us, anybody else out there broadcasting.
Yeah.
And see if they were using that terminology 6 months ago.
No, and just,
we were using it 6 months ago.
Very much so.
The thing about the big guys, they have research departments. That's what you have to always understand. They have producers, directors, they have, production staff. That production staff scours all the airwaves to see what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
If there's a story they have missed. And if they've missed a story or they haven't elaborated on a story enough, they're going to take bits and pieces of those stories and put their own spin on it.
Yep.
Like they created it. Just like terminology we've used and things that we've said since we've been on the air is constantly creeps into what other people do.
Well,
and so they think that they're educating people, Charlton, but if they spend as much time educating as they did stealing, they would be honest about what they say on the air.
Well, they even got the little globe spinning around like Big C Sports have the earth inside of the sea. They got a little globe. That goes a lot smaller than our globe, Big C. I think that's funny. But I always pay homage to people. During the Middle Passage, there were Europeans that sailed ships over the African continent, which if you Google and read the Bible, it's the only continent that Jesus Christ ever walked. He never stepped foot outside of the African continent. Google it. A lot of people think he's been in Europe. He wasn't.
He wasn't in Italy?
Nope.
He wasn't in Rome?
No.
As they say he was?
Nope. Google it. Read the Bible. So I want to bring this up because as men of color, and I like everybody because all life came from black women anyway. You can Google that, Dr. Leakey Gregory-Mendo. That's not anathema to the United States. That's just truth. And I like the truth. Who's that good boy that said, I want the truth? And he said, you can't handle the truth. Was that the great Jack? I think he was talking to
Jack Nicholson going on, relaxing there.
Yeah, he's a good old boy. I like Jack, man. But I want to bring this up because it's near and dear to my heart because I was spoken the truth by my parents. They did not like dumbness, so they make me read, which I encourage people to read more and quit watching so much TV. Start reading. The Middle Passage took land, resources, and people and brought it to the Western world for profit. Okay? It existed all over the world, but it was most egregious done here in the United States. How does that, people say, what's that got to do with today? Well, as I'm watching a lot of the mainstream program, they will take the black talent and they won't give them their own show. They'll have the mainstream Caucasian guy or girl sitting there as the show's named after them. You look to their left, you look to their right, just like the Final Supper with Jesus and the disciples. They'll get all the black talent, have them fill their airtime, and they say, hey, thanks for coming on. We got another guy coming on next. Wait a minute. Why is the guy you bringing on have more talent than you, but the show is named after you? I just think Big C Sports is the only show that won't do that. Unless you replace me with that dog that you can't find yet. If Will Smith returned your dog and they got Big C and his dog, Big C, I feel kind of offended. But I want to get your thoughts. Does that make any sense? We got to bring that up and point it out, whether it's plagiarism or where things came from, the Middle Passage, or even the new broadcast show platforms. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, is as much as we said about the Rooney Rule. That's really a dishonest act.
Yep.
And when you look at what goes on here in the media, you bring in these athletes, and you hold these athletes to a different standard when they're playing. You think about it, if society can hold athletes on this pedestal, Charlton, of being great people, why can't you hold minorities up all together?
That's right.
Because minority athletes are those minorities.
Yeah.
But because they make millions of dollars and they entertain you, they're good people.
Yeah.
There are more good minorities up and down the street every day than there are black athletes in America, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you combine them all. They do promising things in this country, Charlton, that are in leadership roles. But they're not recognized. It's just like the fear that minorities have from the police, regardless of what kind of vehicle that you're driving, what type of neighborhood you're living in.
Yeah.
You're always feeling at risk.
Yeah.
And it just happens. And it shouldn't be that way if we have equality in America.
Nope.
So when you look at that and you bring these people on these programs, just like I said, you can win a national championship in college, and you can't play in the NFL.
Yep.
But you'll draft a guy who hasn't won 8 games in 2 years.
Yeah.
And saying he's the next savior. Josh Allen didn't win. He won 8 games his senior year.
Yeah.
Mitch Trubisky won 8 games his senior year. None of these guys are Heisman Trophy candidates.
Nope.
None of these guys were in the BCS playoffs, Charlton. But the black quarterbacks that were, You said that they couldn't. Like I said, Lamar Jackson, you didn't treat him equally when it came down to the draft.
Nope.
People talk about, no, make him a wide receiver because he's so talented. He shouldn't be playing quarterback.
He's fast.
It's not like we don't have enough black receivers in the NFL.
Yeah.
But let's get one more to play quarterback.
Yep.
That would, 30 years ago, Charleston, he would have been moved to quarterback. To a wide receiver. He wouldn't have played quarterback. 30 years ago, that would have happened. But Josh Allen, they said, well, he's a project.
Yep.
Josh Allen is just like Paxton Lynch that John Elway drafted a couple years ago out of Memphis.
Didn't he just cut him?
Okay. They just cut him.
Yeah.
At the end of training camp, they cut him.
Yep.
Josh Allen is the same talent that Paxton Lynch is.
Yep.
He's the same talent that Brandon Whedon was out of Oklahoma State. Big white guy, rifle arm, Chad Henne out of Michigan.
Yep.
Same thing. And so when you look at these guys, and they say, well, they can't miss projects. The word project right there lets you know that he's not ready to play.
Yeah. I think people might say, because Big C Sports is about real talk. I learned this from the barbershops when I went. My barber, when I was a little boy, he was a preacher. He was fire and brimstone in the church, but I thought everything he did is like he really knew God. Big C, they spent time together. But then he gave us young boys haircuts, and his name was Mr. James. One of the things I really appreciate, he didn't hold his tongue because he grew up in Jim Crow, and he told us some real talk that made us successful today. He didn't sugarcoat it and tell us to worship athletes that they put in front of us. He told us to read. Now, he wasn't my dad, but he always took the time to impart some knowledge that was full of wisdom about some of the things you got to go through. And I want to bring today, in 2018, there's a good old boy superintendent down in Texas, in Houston. He said you cannot trust African-American quarterbacks. When it comes to serious decision-making, it kind of makes you think, what? That's not real. Maybe that's 1950. No, this is now. And then the response, he had to back it up, said, well, they've had limited access or success by African-Americans quarterbacks in the NFL, and this is a societal perspective. There's no such thing as limited success. It's a team game, but when you're propped up on a pedestal with a less than 20 QBR rating and you're sitting the bench as a playoff quarterback, that's what it's all about, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, the first thing you say about this individual, he was a superintendent down in Houston.
Yeah.
And Houston is the fourth largest city in America.
Yep.
Okay. This is the person that's in charge of educating the kids of America down in Houston, Texas, the fourth largest city in America.
Yep.
So if you take that stance against black athletes, what type of stance do you have against black children?
Yep.
That's the thing. This is a guy that people have voted in or elected, whatever, into office to be the head educator.
Yep.
And this is the stance that he has, separation in society. That's what he's saying, because he makes that stance about a black athlete who has gone to college, gotten drafted by an NFL team, saying that you are a leader. And I don't know if he's checked black quarterback records in the Super Bowl to see what their statistics are. It's probably a little higher than white quarterbacks as far as winning.
Yep.
I don't know if he's ever looked at that. When you look at the limited number of black quarterbacks that's been in the NFL and the success that they've had, Charles.
Yeah.
But, that's troubling when you think about that. The statement about the black quarterbacks is horrific.
Yeah.
But the most troubling part is that he's the head educator in Houston. So this means that he is not going to allow black children to have an advantage.
Yeah.
Or even an equal opportunity. That's what he's saying. He used black quarterbacks as his platform, but he's actually talking about black children because at one point they were. And the quarterback in Houston, I believe, was black, Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
So he's telling these children in Houston who are looking up to Deshaun Watson, not just black Johnson, but white also,
kids
Hispanic,
too.
Asian.
Yeah.
Every kid in Houston is looking up to Deshaun Watson like every kid in any city with an NFL team.
Yep.
And he's telling these kids, you can never be nothing.
Yeah.
You're a poor decision maker. And this is a guy that you're looking at as far as aspiring to be. No, you'll never be anything. This is the head educator in a city making this statement. He can't even walk that back, Charlton.
No.
You're saying limited opportunity. That means you're going to give the kids in your school that are black limited opportunity, Charlton.
Well, it happens. And if there's no black men who are conscious to stand up for that, Because we live in two separate societies, one black, one white. The ones that have the power, look at the Supreme Court justice,
Charles,
look at the president.
Let me interrupt you on that.
Yeah.
I wonder, will you hear that on the Worldwide Leader tonight?
No. Oh, maybe you will by tomorrow. They'll get it tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow,
Yeah.
but not tonight.
Yeah.
You want, well, that's right, because they listen to the show, so they'll take that segment out of the show and utilize it. But tonight, Charlton, we won't hear it.
Well, I'll tell you what we can do on Big C Sports. I want to appeal to the truth. I don't care what color somebody is. All life came from the same source, according to Dr. Leakey and Gregor Mendel, the world's foremost paleontologists and scientists. So I have no issue with race. It doesn't matter to me. I have an issue with telling the truth and that you can Google it. In fact, we're the only sports show that will say, please fact check us. Don't believe anything we say unless you can fact check it and verify it. I challenge any media outlet, especially sports shows, to do the same thing. Because if that's the case, Big C, this is what they would have gotten. And I want to see people succeed, especially the Raiders on the West Coast. John Gruden, 81 wins, 82 losses. That's his career record when he wasn't coaching a team that was put together by Tony Dungy. Big C, we were saying there were some things that wasn't right with the Raiders when Davis hired him. Remember, Al Davis fired John Gruden for losing. His son maybe forgot. His son, after John was doing some teaching for college quarterbacks, remember, I tried to get a job with the NFL too. I was undefeated, Big C, in my Madden 2018 game. They didn't get.
Think about this. Everybody wanted to call John Gruden a quarterback guru.
Yeah.
You know who the number one, youth quarterback guru is in the country?
Clarkson out of San Jose State.
Steve Clarkson out of San Jose State. Steve Clarkson is responsible for putting more quarterbacks in the NFL than John Gruden.
And you can Google that.
Steve Clarkson can't get a job in the NFL.
Nope.
He was in college at the same time, I believe, that Randall Cunningham was.
Yep.
They were in the same conference.
Played in the first California Raisin Bowl down in Fresno.
He runs a quarterback camp.
Yeah.
And when you look at the quarterbacks that are in the NFL that have come through his camp, through his tutelage, but the NFL says that he's not qualified enough to have a head coaching job, an offensive coordinator job, a quarterback coach job.
Yeah.
You think about that. You have more quarterbacks in the NFL that have come under your tutelage and come through your quarterback camp than the Mannings, Charlton, or anybody else that have had quarterback camp around the NFL.
Yeah.
A black man does. And the NFL doesn't feel that he's qualified enough to get a job. So this goes back to the point we talked about. Opportunity.
Yep.
The Rooney Rule. If Steve Clarkson was to walk in and said, I want to apply for a head coaching job, an offensive coordinator job, a quarterback coaching job, he cannot get hired.
Google it.
Even though he can say, let me show you my resume.
Yep.
Look at my body of work. Look at the number of players that are taking snaps in the NFL that I groomed at a younger age.
That's a very good point. He played in the first California Raisin Bowl down in Fresno back in the 80s. Never forget how great he was a passer at San Jose State University, part of the PCAA conference, and won the PCAA conference. They played teams from the Mid-American Conference back then, like Bowling Green and Toledo, Ohio, those teams back in the day. But yeah, that's a fact. Now, something Big C Sports was talking about, just Google the record. Don't listen to what we say. Mainstream's not going to do this. They're not going to tell you when they don't tell you the truth. Gruden, a quarterback guru, Big C, football genius, said you got to teach players how to pass rush. He didn't consult Mel Kiper and Todd McShay on who to draft. Think about it. Big C Sports was the only team saying, or the only sports show saying, that he wasn't the right guy for the Raiders job. But because of the great white hype, he was not criticized by media. He was not even fact-checked by media. They kept saying, he's the guy he can't miss. He's the same guy that was fired from Oakland and Tampa for losing. Not because he got tired of coaching, but he gets $100 million and a guy like Clarkson can't get a job, who's been accountable for more black quarterbacks in the league than any other guy. You going to hear that on the mothership? Why won't they tell you that? The sports leader, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I would really love for them to put together a comparison chart to sit those two men down in the room with the quarterback, whether he's high school, college, or pro, Charlton, and have both of them analyze the guy. Do it live. Don't sit there and edit it.
Right.
Compare the knowledge between Steve Clarkson and John Gruden. As John Gruden sit there on that John Gruden quarterback camp, that was all edited.
Yep.
Okay? Everything, whether you saw him out on the field, whether you saw him in the classroom, it was all edited. do Steve Clarkson against John Gruden on recognition.
Yep.
And see who's the most intelligent. That's something you'll never get on the Worldwide Lead or even the other sports network coaches. You won't get it from either one of them. Because now all of a sudden, that myth is debunked.
Yep.
That this man is over-intelligent, not highly intelligent,
yeah.
over-intelligent.
Yeah.
Is that we've been lying to each other about these guys are not capable because this guy will dissect an ant.
Yep. And Big C knows because he's barbecued those ants. Big C, how does deep fried barbecue ant taste? That's a delectable you can put in your restaurant. The Big C deep fried barbecue ant. Big C, your thoughts?
But once you dip them in chocolate afterwards, and you drop them across your ice cream, you get this earthy, nutty flavor when you do that.
Yeah. And you also got to dip them in some vibranium sauce. It's the best sauce in the universe. So I want to just say, you'll hear things on Big C Sports that not only will you not hear on other sports programs, but you'll hear them plagiarize it, and they'll do the watered-down version, same way a lot of people water down their drinks. I just want to be real with people. I don't care about who's afraid of who. Don't worry about someone telling you what you can and can't say. Just speak from the heart. People know when you're telling the truth. Why can't our government hold people and politicians accountable for sexual misconduct allegations like the NBA and the NFL owners are held accountable? I want to defend Mark Cuban. He could have done more, but he wasn't there. But he's getting more criticism than them good old boys in Washington, D.C. that say, well, I know he held a man or a woman down and he forced them to do some things that are illegal, but he's a good old boy. Let's just get him in the office. You guys are making his life rough, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it's amazing, Charlton, when it comes to our politicians in Washington.
Yep.
That any woman that makes an accusation,
they're lying.
Any politician, any judge, she's discredited right off the bat.
Immediately.
She's uncredible,
yep.
regardless of her professional position. This woman's a doctor at Palo Alto.
Yeah.
I believe it is, Berkeley.
In the Bay Area?
Out there,
yep.
In the Bay Area. And all of a sudden now she's uncredible, Charlton, because she's making this accusation against this Supreme Court nominee who they're still hiding over 1,000 pages of paperwork on.
Yeah.
So why are they hiding 1,000 pages of paperwork? And why is there such a rush to have this vote? Why can't it be investigated? How long did the NBA have an independent arbitrator investigate the Dallas Mavericks for misconduct? Well over a year, Charlton.
Yeah.
There was no rush. They said, we got time. Let's investigate this thoroughly.
Yep.
And that's what they did. When you look at every action, I mean, you look at Richardson, who had to sell the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
The NFL did a thorough research on what had happened, Charlton, when the story broke. It wasn't a rush to judgment.
Yeah.
Let's research this. Let's find corroborating evidence. And they did that. Same thing with Sterling and the L.A. Clippers.
Yeah.
They researched that, Charlton. It wasn't, okay, this is it, it's over with. No, we got to go and do proper research. And here it is with our politicians. No, she's got to testify now, and she can only testify in front of these men here. We can't have any women asking her questions, only these men.
That's a joke.
Think about that. Think about how discriminatory that is towards women.
Yep.
We saw that same thing 27 years ago with Anita Hill.
Yep.
Is that she was berated by men on national television. We didn't have any female congressmen that could question her. But these questions were all by men.
Yeah.
Let's have some equitable questions, not just one-sided. And why do women always have to lie? I read a story about this 49er defensive lineman they drafted out of Stanford, and I'm trying to remember his name. They drafted last year.
Yeah.
Number one. And, he suffered through depression, Charlton, in his rookie year through 2017.
Yep.
Why? Because his best friend, his sister, had committed suicide.
Wow.
And while she was in college, Charlton, at Arkansas, she had been gang raped. But nobody wanted to believe her. She went through depression. She dropped out of school. She was on medication. But she was a woman, Charlton.
Yeah.
And this happened to her. And because this happened by some alleged athletes, Charlton, there was no credibility from her. Thomas, I believe is his name, the defensive end.
Yeah.
And so she sunk into this world of depression until she took her life last year, Charlton, right before the draft.
Wow.
And so these are the type of situations that women are forced into. You know, the minute they make an accusation against somebody of power or above them as a man generally,
yep,
they have to be, you know, assaulted all over again.
I agree. I mean, that's a horrible.
They have to be assaulted all over again by everybody, by the media, by the prosecution, by her assailants. All of these people are prosecuting her. She was just trying to get an education.
Yeah.
That's all she was trying to do was get an education. And she had to go through this horrific act, and you know, she just lost contact with people mentally. She became this. It's just like we talked about the war heroes that have come back, Charles.
Yeah, yeah.
That they've suffered. They're suffering through CTE and everything else, and they're not getting help from society or even the government. This is the same thing that these assault victims go through, Charlton. Is that, you know, well, why should we believe you?
Yeah.
You know, a judge made a statement earlier this year. Well, if the young lady had kept her legs closed, this wouldn't have happened.
That's horrible.
You know, so when we have male-oriented society, and we're males, but I'm not an advocate of this barbaric, you know, stance that society takes, where you discredit a woman, because if it's your daughter, and your daughter walks in and says, "This happened to me. I was gang raped, you know, while I was on campus by these athletes," are you going to say, well, baby, you know, maybe if you'd have stayed in your room, this wouldn't have happened, or, you know, you were hanging with the wrong crowd, just get over it. Don't worry about it. These things happen in life. That's the attitude of every man and woman, Charlton, in America that has not had that happen to a loved one, okay?
And you know that...
When you haven't had it happen to a loved one, you don't have a feeling about it. And it's just like blacks being abused by the police. Well, it don't happen in my neighborhood. I've never had that happen to me.
And the funny,
so I don't see what they're complaining about.
And the irony there is there's more pushback over Black Lives Matter than predominantly Caucasian males being accused of those crimes. Giuliani said, no, he paid her. Trump said, no, I didn't do it. Giuliani said, yeah, his lawyer paid him. Well, who's lying? First, they were slandering the woman, Stormy, and then, obviously, she has a good lawyer. Not everybody has the kind of money to defend themselves, but that's why it's always important for Big C Sports. We'll always stand up for women and men. Just the truth. Just Google it. No one should have credibility that you could Google it, and we'll always do that for Big C Sports. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're approaching a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league. When you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you. One more thing on the NFL. And again, when I hear media saying the same thing we've been saying for almost 2 weeks before kickoff season, Big C, like, why did they give Gruden $100 million over 10 years? I think something's wrong with your good old friend in Davis. He must be dyslexic. He meant to sign a check for $10,000 over 10 years, or was it $10 million over 10 years? Not $100 million. But Big C, at your restaurants, when someone gives you a $100 bill for a $50 meal, do you give them $50? Of course, that you want to, but if you make a mistake and give them $100, honest people would give the money back. You think John Gruden's going to get that money back, Big C, your eyes?
Oh, no, Charlton, he'll be licking his chops for a long time. Yeah. And, you know, it's just like you said, you got to teach guys how to pass rush.
Yep.
No, that's an innate trait that people have, Charlton.
Yeah.
You didn't have to teach, you know, great pass rushers how to pass. When we talked about Thomas in Kansas City, you didn't have to teach him how to pass rush.
Yep.
Deacon Jones, you didn't have to teach him how to pass rush. Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, Bruce Smith. These guys knew how to pass rush.
Yeah.
When they came into the NFL, no one had to teach them how to pass rush. And I believe that Khalil Mack has been in double digits ever since he's been in the NFL.
He sure has.
So,
yeah.
You know, when you talk about teaching somebody how to pass rush, and you already had one of the top 10 pass rushers in the NFL in the last decade.
Yeah.
And so who are you going to teach? Think about this, Charlton. When you talk about pass rushers, the Chicago Bears lead the NFL through 2 games with 10 sacks.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
10 sacks in 2 games. The Oakland Raiders are averaging 1 sack a game through 2 games in the NFL.
That's incredible.
Averaging 1 sack a game. So they have 2 sacks thus far this season. They're on pace right now to have 16 sacks on the season.
Wow.
Think about that. So you're talking about you have to teach people how to rush. So I'm confused when you make that statement.
Don't be confused. just touch your eyes.
No, but didn't they have training camp?
Yep.
Okay, now, Khalil Mack wasn't in training camp.
Nope.
And he said he wasn't going to report. What the hell were you teaching the defensive linemen through training camp?
Yeah, that's funny.
This is $100 million coach.
Yeah.
Making this stupefied statement. You have to teach people how to rush the pass.
And Big C.
You had OTAs.
Yep.
You had OTAs, Charles.
Yeah.
You had a month of training camp. You had 4 preseason games. And you're telling me you haven't taught anybody how to pass rush yet?
And he did not need the Rooney Rule to get a job in the NFL on Sunday. Which quarterback would be the most limited because of their knee injury? Will it be the great Aaron Rodgers versus Washington, or Carson Wentz versus Indianapolis? If Philadelphia loses, does this mean that Andrew Luck is back? I still don't think that Wentz is healthy. You can see a hitch in his giddy up. You can see how, those Cowboys back in the day, who was it, John Wayne, when he walked around, he walked into a saloon and he always wanted some libation. I think you know what kind of libation John Wayne wanted when he relaxed, Big C. He was also a USC Trojan. That's how Carson Wentz is walking around. I would hate to see him rushed out there because there's a little bit of panic in the city of brotherly love, which is an oxymoron when they boo Santa Claus, Big C. I would hate to see him rushed out there. He has a bright upside. He's a mobile quarterback, even though they never ask him to play defensive back. He has all the skills that they need to develop, but why rush him out there when he has a hitch and his giddy up, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you look at this game. This is against Andrew Luck. These are two of the prodigy quarterbacks of the NFL. Andrew Luck had not played in almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Wentz has been out half a year. So it's a lose-lose situation in this game, Charlton, when you look at it. Andrew Luck, if he loses to Carson Wentz, then he's not completely back.
Yeah.
Okay? Carson Wentz, if he loses, well, he hasn't had any work.
Yeah, he's rusty.
There's an excuse for him already.
WD-40.
He hasn't had any live game action.
Yeah.
You got to understand the Colts' defense is much improved, Charlton.
Yeah.
Much improved. They got a rookie linebacker that's outstanding that's going to be all over Carson Wentz.
Yep.
In this game, and he's out of South Carolina State. And he wasn't even on Mel Kiper's draft board, so I'll let Mel Kiper know that. The guys come from these traditional black schools, and NFL teams scout him, and even though you don't know anything about him, and he's a second-round pick.
Yeah.
But this is a tough one for Wentz because he hasn't had any real game timing. He doesn't have the receiving core that he had last year.
Yeah.
That's his biggest knock. I mean, they just brought in Jordan Matthews, who spent last year with the Buffalo Bills, that was with the Eagles the year before that because the receiving core is so depleted.
Yeah.
He doesn't have LeGarrette Blount in the backfield. Ajayi had back problems in that last game. Andrew Luck is looking to get back in the groove.
Yeah.
But, when I look at, Aaron Rodgers, this knee is going to hamper him all year long, Charlton. He has something torn in the knee.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's not a strain. He has a tear. And so he's put together with Band-Aid, super glue, and a needle. Like, that's what he's put together with.
You sound like the doctor I go to, Big C.
So, this is going to be a deteriorating situation for him. I don't know how many hits he can take.
Yeah.
What may help him. I guarantee you the officials will be quick to throw a flag if you get around it.
Yep.
They will be very quick to throw a flag if you get around, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But, as I look at it, the Eagles got the most to lose, Charlton, because if they lose this game, now they're on a 2-game losing streak, and they cannot blame Nick Foles, Charlton.
I agree something. I want to throw the flag on something, too. I want to throw the flag on my black brethren in media. Why is it when media is interviewing players after some alleged controversy, do they feel the players must apologize to their teammates? Big C, nobody really gets along when you're competing to win. Your guys on your team happen to be on your team. It doesn't mean you're best friends, but you are on their side. But when it comes to deciding if they're going to get the money, are you going to get the money? If they're going to get the vibranium, are you get to drink the vibranium? All bets are off. You're up for yourself. But when I hear this machismo, this made-up bravado, he's about that life. If you challenge him in the locker room, he's ready to fight. What knucklehead with $200 million is going to throw a punch at anybody if you're dumb and hit somebody and unfortunately someone perishes from that, lose their life over it? Now you're facing manslaughter in the penitentiary for what? Because you're dumb and can't control your ego? I hate when some of our own black brethren get on TV and try to act like, this guy's from the streets and he's always going to be from the streets. He's about that life. You can't approach him. That's a dumb thing to say. A lot of dumb guys are incarcerated because of that mentality. No, you walk away. You live like an old man. You get old and wise. Big, see that make any sense?
Well, Charlton, it makes perfect sense. But the thing about it is, why is the media always going after black athletes? Don't you feel that you owe your teammates an apology? Don't you feel that this is an apologetic situation? You know, when Irsay was arrested, you know, with the $22,000 of Oxycontin in the passenger seat.
Did he go to jail?
Didn't go to jail. Paid a little fine, got suspended for 6 months by the league. If you were a black player, you've been banned for life. Okay? Did he come out and apologize to the NFL?
No.
The city of Indianapolis? Did he apologize to the team? No, Charlton. It was swept under the rug and basically forgotten about. You don't see the media getting in his face and you feel that you owe the public an apology for behaving this kind of way. You know, with the Oxycontin problem that's going on in the upper Midwest. So you don't get that. You know, when you have these situations with white players, white owners, they're not asked to be apologetic.
No.
You know, they're trying to find an excuse, an scapegoat. Whenever there's a black player in a controversy, and even with the team, I know back with Odell Beckham when he was doing his thing back in the summer.
Yeah.
Don't you feel that you owe the teammates an apology? Hell, I was in Italy. He didn't want to come.
Yeah. He was knee deep in mozzarella cheese, Big Z.
Yeah.
He didn't even know what an apology was.
But that's always the first thing out of their mouth. When Gronk would be out drunk and partying and everything, they never said, do you feel that you owe your teammates an apology in New England?
Nope.
For your behavior, your
nope.
social behavior?
They celebrated it.
We've never heard that, Charlton. Whenever you've seen a white player, mainstream player, get in any kind of situation, they're not asking him, is he apologetic? But a black player has to apologize for being a grown man.
Yeah.
If he has not committed a criminal act, and there's many white guys that have committed criminal acts they never asked him to be apologetic for. Okay?
Yeah.
They're not asking Kavanaugh if he's apologetic. They never asked the president. I saw a show last week, Charlton, where Stormy Daniels' attorney, Michael Avenatti,
he's
was
smart.
on a Fox program with a Tucker Carlson. And Tucker Carlson, I mean, I've seen Avenatti on many news outlet shows.
Yeah.
And all of them have been totally respectful to the man.
Yep.
On Fox News, he said, well, you're the creepy porn lawyer.
Wow.
Okay? You think about that. This is supposed to be a journalist. Journalists don't say that. That lets you know that Fox is tabloid television.
Yeah.
And he's trying to undermine and undercredit the guy. He said, well, since you're the creepy porn lawyer, he said, okay, he said, if I'm the creepy porn lawyer, let's talk about the creepy porn president who slept with my client while he had a wife and a 4-month-old son at home.
Yeah.
Without a prophylactic.
Yep.
You know,
well,
at that time, the interview ended.
Yep.
But, when somebody came back at him with his own fire, he wasn't apologetic, but he had to get out because he had no answer for it.
And these are two Caucasian guys.
This is how we treat minorities all the time in the media.
Yeah.
You know, is that let's make them, less than a person. Let's find a way to berate them.
Well, I got to bring up something too, and then we'll touch on the sports, but how it all relates. People keep saying, well, that's why we have affirmative action to make atone for slavery. The first African-American to receive the Medal of Honor in the Civil War was Sergeant William Harvey Carney, who despite being shot in the face, shoulders, arms, legs, he refused to let go and let the American flag touch the ground. I had that sent to me by a Caucasian friend of mine. She was trying to say how everybody should stand for the flag. I said, do you realize the Civil Rights War was not fought to end slavery? It was fought to save the Union. Even Lincoln said that he opined that if he could save the Union without ending slavery, he would have done it. That's Abe Lincoln. So a lot of times people got to realize the man served the service because he didn't want to die by mainstream. He did it because he had appreciation for his life. And I say for anyone who's still on that flag, anti-flag, read.
Did she also include during that time that black soldiers were paid less than half of white soldiers?
She didn't know.
They dodged the same bullet.
She didn't know.
When you tell a story, at least know the whole story.
Know the whole story.
Black soldiers who fought the same battle got less than half the wages of white soldiers.
Yeah.
Did not get the same clothes that white soldiers got. They got the hand-me-down. They actually got clothes from soldiers that had been killed.
Yep.
That's the clothes that black soldiers had got. So when you think about equality and standing for the flag, it wasn't that the black soldiers were standing for the flag, Charlton. They were standing for freedom. They were standing for equality. So understand the statement when you make a statement. They didn't want to be slaves. It wasn't that they were fighting for a flag. They were fighting for manhood.
For their right to live. For their right to live. And also because this has just happened today. You know, this Black Lives Matter, all life came from the African continent. But think about it. The flag or human life. The flag is not made of God. It's made of man. The flag is not a father. It's not a mother. It's not a daughter. It's not a son.
Let me add to that about the flag.
Yeah.
There were 2 American flags at the time, weren't there?
Yep.
Nah?
Yep.
There was the Old Glory and the Confederate flag.
Yep.
So those whites who did not stand for Old Glory, were they anti-American? Answer that question. When you want to talk about, you know, being American, all those Southerners who stand down there for that rebel flag, that's anti-American.
It sure
so
is.
Don't sit there and say that blacks are against the flag. No, it's all those rebels in the South, in those Jim Crow states, Charlton, that still have that Dixie flag flying. That's anti-American.
But in fairness, POTUS did say they are good people, Big C. When we talk about the flag and standing, I just hope people Google it, or at least Google the Kerner Commission, or at least watch the documentary 13th. Talking about equality. Who doesn't want equality, liberty, and justice for all? We talked about Jackie Robinson yesterday, the inaugural Rookie of the Year in Major League Baseball. This is the 50th anniversary of Bob Gibson's miraculous 1968 season. Big C, he had an ERA of 1.12 ERA. And Major League Baseball decided to lower the mound 12 inches because a black man dominated too much. That's Major League Baseball. Oh, he also won the World Series in the same Cy Young Award that same season. But that same guy was oppressed by a country, whether he stood for the flag or not. We all want liberty and justice for all. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he was oppressed by a country that he lived in 1968. If you think there was equality in 68, look at all of what happened in America. You know, Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. Martin Luther King was assassinated.
Yep.
The civil rights marches were going on, Charlton. The raids in Detroit and Chicago at the convention for presidency, Charlton, where blacks were killed. And so when you think about Bob Gibson, the most dominant player in baseball in 1968 was discriminated against by Major League Baseball.
He sure was.
They discriminated against him because they altered the rule because they said a black man should not be able to dominate the game at this level, and he has an unfair advantage because he's this great athlete.
Yeah.
We need to bring him down lower so he won't dominate as much.
Yeah.
All the years of baseball with all the awards, you know, the Cy Young Award that he won, named after allegedly the greatest pitcher of all time. All the pitchers that preceded Bob Gibson, okay, in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
None of them ever had an ERA like he had. And you got to understand, he pitched complete games. He didn't go out there and pitch 5 or 6 innings.
No.
He pitched complete games.
Yep, complete
games.
games.
When nobody can hit him and nobody can score, it's like, no, he has an unfair advantage because he's a superior black athlete. They weren't going to say that in public. What we'll do is we'll lower the mound.
Yeah.
Because people are intimidated by him. The white batters are intimidated by him.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So we're going to discriminate against him, and we're going to change this rule. We're going to drop down the mound because of him. Because you got to think about all the white pitchers that came prior to Bob Gibson that are in the Hall of Fame that were the greatest pitchers in baseball.
Yep.
And all of a sudden he did something none of them ever did, and they said he had an unfair advantage.
That's amazingly true. And that we just want people to Google that because it's the truth. It's the honest truth. And something else I want to bring up too. Valentino Dixon, a black man from Buffalo with help from Jimmy Roberts from the Golf Channel, announcer, he was a leading advocate for getting an African-American man out of prison who spent 27 years incarcerated on a false conviction of murder. False means he was innocent, like he did not do it. So for my friend that talks about equality, and I wish people would stand for the flag, the man spent 27 years in a prison under the flag for being innocent. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this young man spent the majority of his life incarcerated for a crime that he did not commit in Buffalo, New York, years ago. 27 years incarcerated. And they had a person, Charlton, who admitted that he committed the crime.
Yeah.
But, law enforcement and the judicial system said, well, we can get 2 blacks for 1.
Yep.
That's what we can do. We can get 2 blacks for 1 and incarcerate him. Even though they had no evidence, he had an alibi and everything else, that wasn't good enough. So when you hear black people saying miscarriage of justice, mistreatment by law enforcement, and you spend 27 years in prison for a crime that you did not commit.
Innocent.
Roberts, a great humanitarian situation.
He sure is.
Everybody's giving, Kim Kardashian all this praise about getting an African-American woman out that was on drug trafficking charge. You won't hear about Jimmy Roberts from the White House.
Nope.
Getting this man out who did not commit a crime because it was in the same state where Trump tried to get 5 young black men the death penalty by taking out a full-page ad in the New York Times.
Called the Central Park Five. Yeah, Google it, Central Park 5.
Man, Charlton, was convicted even though you had somebody that gave a statement said he committed the murder. And that the guy who committed the murder is still in prison. He ended up going to prison right after the guy did, Charlton.
Yeah.
On the same type of crime.
Yep.
And he had said, in the guy's defense, I killed that guy. He told him who he was and how he did it.
Yep.
They had evidence of that. Jimmy Roberts picked up the story because the guy had done some paintings, Charlton. There was a guy, because he's an avid drawer. Now, he was an art student.
Yeah.
And they asked him to draw Esther. He's never been there, Charlton. He may have seen it on television, but he's never been there.
Yeah.
And he drew these picturesque drawings of Augusta, Charlton, while incarcerated, because he said that's what saved his mind, was his drawing.
Yep.
Jimmy Roberts saw this, started investigating the thing, Charlton, and it shows that there are good people everywhere in life.
Everywhere.
Jimmy Rogers wasn't an attorney, Charlton. He wasn't a legal scholar, but he knew that there was something about this individual that wasn't right about where he was. So he went with his gut and his human feelings, his human instincts. And that's what we don't call on enough, our human instincts.
I agree. And
his human instincts, Charlton, he got the people together to get an appeal on this situation, Charlton. And the man was exonerated and released after 27 years of being in prison.
I tell you, liberty and justice for all. That means everybody. When we turn to the world of golf, the Tour Championship, #1 Tiger happened to be African American, even though he says he's a combination, but he's always going to be the person of color, no matter what you call him. Tiger Woods shot 5 under, 65 for the day, tied with Ricky Fowler, also a man of color. I'm saying this because golf has always been anathema to people of color. Okay, 2 people of color tied for the top. Also, Rose is -4, Woodland, McIlroy -3, Finau -3, Thomas -3, and Day -2, 2 under for the day. Listen, everybody knows that all is fair in love and war. You got to compete for something in life. A long time ago, I heard from grown women telling me that people, you can sum them up in 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. Just to be simple about it, the 1s are the passive people in society. They just wait around for things to happen for them. And 5 are the aggressive people in life. They make things happen. They advocate for the less fortunate. They take what they have and they share it with the universe. And they ask you to Google what they say. So the truth, what the Bible tells us, the truth will set you free. Big C, your thoughts on this great golf tournament, how golf is always great when Tiger Woods is at the top. Big C, your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, we talked about the most prestigious financial tournament of the year, the FedEx Cup, with a $10 million first prize,
I'll take
it to the winner.
I'll take it.
And so when you see Tiger being competitive in a tournament, you hope that he can maintain this and withstand the course, Charlton, that he can stay consistent out there, because that's one of the things that he hasn't had, But, this is the first time that Tiger Woods has been in the lead in a tournament, since his return on day 1. So, as he says, it's been a process.
Yeah.
Is that he's been working towards something. Now, working towards a $10 million payday ain't bad.
I'll do it.
There's a lot of people that do it, but Charlton, the benefactors of this are the golf course, East Lake in Atlanta.
Yeah.
They're the benefactors. The Golf Channel's the benefactor.
Yep.
And whoever's going to cover this, whether it's NBC or CBS.
Yeah.
Most likely it'll be NBC because they got football game on CBS. They'll be the benefactor of this on Sunday, Charlton, Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about having the FedEx Cup and you have Tiger amongst the leaderboard, what more can you ask for? College football takes a back seat because they say, okay, they'll be playing again next week.
Yeah.
And the NFL would also, if Tiger's on the leaderboard on Sunday, Charlton, if he's in the top 3, the NFL ratings will go down.
Yeah.
They can always tell when people have lost interest. No, they have interest in another black entity. That's all it is.
Hey, if Tiger was smart, he would apply to coach the Oakland Raiders, because they give you $100 million for being less than 500, Big C. And Matt, they give Tiger $1 billion, Big C, with that math. Your thoughts?
Well, he might know how to rush the net. He might get away from the golf club, so he knows how to maneuver out of trouble.
Yeah, that's so funny. Big C, the Red Sox will try to clinch the AL East tonight after losing 10-1. Them New York Yankees, they said no, not in our house. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you know, there was a lot of speculation on whether they would rest some of the starters, which they did last night. But they also proved to themselves that you have to be consistent. You got to keep playing all the way through. You don't quit before it's over.
No.
And if they take a page from the Houston Astros last year, Charlton, they didn't stop once they had the division locked up. They kept the starters in, and it rolled them all the way to a World Series.
Yeah, I think that's important. I just think there's so much in the sports universe, so much about life. You got to know who's on your side. If somebody wants to be on your team, they will ask, can I be on your team? If they don't want to be on your team, they'll ask, will you trade me? Or they won't even report to camp. The sports is the same as life. You got to look around and see who's on your team, who's there, who wants to be there, and put your time and energy around that. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, there's a very interesting game that we talked about earlier tonight on television. The New York Jets at the Cleveland Browns. Today, it would make 635 days since the Cleveland Browns last won a football game. I would love for it not to be 636 and counting.
Well, Big C, I tell you, it's all fair in love and war. No matter who wins, no matter what sports show you listen to, when you start hearing the best in the universe, you can hear it every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America, and Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C, and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.